discussion around innovations evolving in the sea service space. It includes technology, but it involves other components too. Matt Jones is CEO of Sigma Defense Systems. He sees innovation in a number of places in the sea services.
You bet. I think connectivity is really something that's really important moving forward. When you think about operators today, recruiting challenges, everybody's growing up digitally native now. And they come in and they get to a system and the system has bandwidth challenges. You can't connect, you're not getting the data, it's not the right data to the right place at the right time. We really see connectivity as a place that innovation is going to be really important, and really data strategy as part of that. You need to have the right data moving over these challenge links and get it to the right places for decision making.
Yeah, the right place at the right time for the data is something that just about everybody here is talking about, not just industry, but the people from DISA talked about it in the DISA theater, all of those folks talking about that. Does that mean the same thing to everybody? Is everybody thinking about data, right place, right time in the same way? That's
a great question. I think that they are, but I think there's a lot of focus right now on standardization of data. And when you think about that, that really becomes, especially in the way the government buys sometimes, can be very bureaucratic. And really what you want to do is not be so concerned about, does this data look like that data? You want to just make sure that the operators and the warfighters get the data. And I think sometimes the focus gets placed in the wrong areas. For sure, I think everybody knows what data. The question is the data aligned in the way people want? And that's where you see a lot of segmentation.
So one area where data is important in that way is in CJADC2. They added the C to indicate the partnerships with the United States allies around the world and so on. What challenge does that present regarding standardization and the exchange of data?
So I think that the JADC2, CJADC2 thesis is spot on. But if you think about it, it really is kind of like boiling the ocean, right? The government is, the way that we buy, we have program offices that are responsible for comms, program offices that are responsible for analytics, program offices that are responsible for platforms, and those program offices are not always coordinated. And so you end up buying something that doesn't work with something, that can't run on something, or doesn't fit on a platform. So I think the challenge just gets bigger and bigger as you bring in the mission partner environment. For sure, we think that there's got to be a look at security levels of data, and what can we share, what can't we share. Clearly, I think as the DoD is starting to lean a lot more forward in that, and we're seeing a lot more mission success as we lean forward and don't keep everything behind closed doors. But that you're right, that has to be a really important part of the data strategy.
Is the department getting better, in your view, at being aware of what all it's getting, so that it can put those puzzle pieces together in the way that you described, in a better way, know that it will all fit together?
I think for sure they're getting better. But I think you got to think about where it was starting from. And at the speed we need to move, the reality is we need to go much further, much faster. I'm hoping that we see the right people in the right roles with the right approaches, and that can really accelerate. I have no doubt that we will catch up as a nation, but for sure that's a challenge today, is making sure that everything is integrated and plugged in and working together.
What's the opportunity? What could the department do to plug that together faster?
I think one of the challenges right now also around how we buy is small companies are innovating, right? That's where your innovation comes from. Big companies are scaling. And so you have this dearth of medium-sized companies in our space. And it really is like, how do we incent mid-sized companies to really be the ambassadors to take small company technology and grow with the government to scale it? Big companies have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders. Small businesses have a hard time, actually scaling it. We need to get back to looking at comparative advantage. What are each company's sizes? Why are they doing what they're doing? And how do we reward the mid-sized companies who can really grow with the mission?
With the side benefit of growing the defense industrial base, creating more competition for the department, I
imagine. Absolutely. It's an interesting thing. I think sometimes if a mid-sized company was to bid the next, naval ship, immediately the government would say they can't scale, they can't do it. But if it's something very innovative, right, the government doesn't look at that and say, the big companies, the scale player, they don't really specialize in innovation. And so it's all about acquisition process and how money flows and who wins the work, and doing it in a strategic way.
Matt, it's great to have you on the show. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great.